There's over $2 million on the table today, and it's all up for grabs. Today, we play some of the biggest pots of my life, facing decisions for over $100,000. I play for a $300,000 pot with just ace high. Am I punting or scooping in all the chips? This was a session of a lifetime, and I'm excited to share this experience with y'all. Let's get the cards in the air. Sitting with a $100,000 buy-in, let's get the fireworks started. Early on in the session, I have ace-8 of hearts in early position. Good hands are raised, so I bump it up to $1,200 with the $400 straddle on. We get Bill in the cutoff to re-raise to $3,300. Here, this is when Nick decides to call in the big blind and back onto me. Now, look, ace-8 really isn't the best hand in the world, but having sitting down for a couple minutes so far, both opponents have been pretty active and aggressive today so far. I'm certainly in no mood to fold or call, so let's see how good these hands really are and put my opponents to the test. I bump it up again to 12,000. Ideally, just trying to win this hand pre-flop, but worst case scenario, I'm rooting for a flop, and when Bill quickly folds, that makes me feel good now up against most opponents, and I think the big blind would be folding a lot, but Nick isn't one of those opponents. He's always ready to battle and makes the call. So with 28,000 in the middle, the flop comes queen 4, 3, 2 spades. It's blank city for me, which is quite unfortunate, but I mean, come on, Magic. At least give me a heart to fall back on, right? Anyways, I'm not giving up here when Nick checks and start off with a bet of 6,000. I'm in position, hoping to just take this down with his nothing holdings, and he quickly calls. That's not a fold here, sir. Turn comes the 6 of diamonds. Brings in the backdoor flush draw. Board a little bit more connected, and I'm trying to figure out what Nick could have. It seems like he can have pocket pairs a lot of the time, and most of his queen X would probably try to 4-bet pre-flop, like the ace queens and king queens of the world. So I think he can either have a set here, which is never going to fold, or a very marginal one pair that won't like see more aggression. So with 40,000 in the middle, I size up to 25,000. This would set up a pretty easy river shove, and here Nick quickly calls again. Not loving this spot. I've got ace high and a $90,000 pot brewing. River comes the jack of hearts. Nick checks, and well, I did not come this far to only come this far. If Nick has a queen, then GG's to me, but I'm going with my read. He has a pocket pair, and I'm just praying he doesn't have a set. I'm sending it all in. I'm credibly repping all the very strong hands I could have. Aces, kings, queens, ace, queen. But this time, just ace high in a dream, and I'm all in for over $57,000. This decision point now puts Nick in a very, very long 7-minute tank. And I just try to stay as still as possible, something I just try to do whether I have value or a bluff, especially when I'm all in, and especially against Nick, who has very good instincts and feel. And he's showing it off right here when he's thinking this long with deuces, a pair of twos. That's like holding 2 napkins, but he actually might call and think it's good. I remember throughout the tank that I stared at the 3 of diamonds so hard, it's like embedded in my brain. At the end of the day, he makes a very reluctant fold. I just got to give my opponent props for thinking so long. His read that I was bluffing, and he was certainly right. Just lucky he didn't find the call this time, and phew. It's a massive hand and always a nice start to the session with a massive bluff. Instead of losing $100,000 immediately, I win a big one. There's no time to waste as immediately the next shuffle, the cutoff calls the $400. The button does as well, and I call queen 9 of clubs in the straddle. We're off to a flop of 10, 8, 7, 2 clubs. It's a monster flop in a limped pot here. Action checks to Nick, who bets 2,000. Facing a pot-sized bet with infinite money to play for behind, I decide to slow play this monster draw and make the call. But then when Dave decides to raise it up to 10,000, action folds all the way back to me. Looks like I'm going with it. I want to play low variance, but Dave bumped it up. Dave has about $40,000 left in the stack, and it makes me want to rip it all in. There's no good way for me to play this hand being out of position, so let's send it. I ship it, and Dave snap calls. We both decide to run it twice, and with the cards face up, let's see if I can crack a set with a draw. With Nick anti-swinging both rounds, we're going to the audio.
Thanks. It means a lot.
That means a lot.
That was great.
Just FYI.
Magic, you know what to do, right? Slow, baby.
Slow, baby.
baby.
But this
slow,
way.
No.
Towards us, not towards them.
First. Ooh, fuck.
Dennis Dave wins the first one. No, he does not. Sorry, my bad. Rampage wins the first one with a 9. He's got so many outs. I mean, a club, a jack, a 9.
The ugliest
He's
6.
got everything.
Who would have thought?
The 6. Oh, man. Dennis Dave needs the board to pair.
Three side would be good.
I got tricked by the slow roll as well of Magic. And the board does not pair, and Rampage has scooped it.
I drill an offsuit 6 on both boards. We're going to scoop this one. Sick back-to-back deals and wins. Winning a $100,000 pot feels good, especially after getting a big bluff through the hand before. So I'm currently up $100,000 so far. Let's just keep on cruising where an hour and a half later, we play another fun hand where Nick raises to 1,000, Mike's makes the call to my right, and I have King-Jack offsuit. Happy to get in there. The big blind straddle calls as well. So 5 ways to a flop of Jack 9-7 rainbow. With the top pair, good kicker, but being 5 ways, I decide to check this one back. Action checks through. Seeing a free turn, it's the deuce of spades. It introduces a flush draw, and here Mike takes the initiative to bet out 3,300. I expect to have the best hand on the flop a lot of the time, and considering that I slow played it, maybe it's time to spring the trap here. So I decided to raise it up to $11,000 for value. Main reasons of this is that I'm trying to get called by worse hands, of course. And 2, the second reason I want to do this is to get all the other random hands here to fold. So everyone ends up folding besides Mike. He's in here, so we went from 5 ways to the turn to 2 ways to the river. River is the 4 of clubs. It's a complete brick, and always love seeing that. And if I still think I have the best hand on the turn and flop, then I certainly should still have the best hand here, right? Mike looks like he has about a pot-sized bet behind, and it would be sick if I can get value from hands like Queen Jack or Jack 10, so I'm all in. I shove, and Mike quickly folds his busted flush draw. 3 for 3 today. Winning 3 big hands, always loving it. Following that hand, I pick up jacks in the cutoff, and let's get involved with the premium. I raise it up to 1,200, but next to my left on the button, Dave 3-bets to 5,500. Pretty large 3-bet raise here, but when action folds around to me, I'm happy to see some flops with jacks, so let's go ahead and do that. Flop comes ace, ace, deuce, 2 clubs. I check it over to Dave, and he bets 1,000. It's a very, very small sizing here. I'm obviously never folding, but I am curious of what kind of story Dave is trying to tell in this hand. He's very capable of bluffing and sometimes very tricky to play against good opponents like this, so I call, a little bit suspicious of whether his hand is strong or not. The turn comes the 10 of clubs, and the flush draw completes, and to my surprise, action's going to go check, check. So feeling comfortable with my hand before the river 10 comes on. Double paired board now, and after Dave checked, I'm praying to just see a check back. It seems like I lose to, well, almost everything. I can't beat a 10, I can't beat an ace, I can't beat a flush. I also lose to kings and queens. So merely sitting with a bluff catcher, I check, and Dave senses out some weakness before firing out 10.4 thousand. I'm left here pretty confused about how this hand transpired. On one hand, it feels pretty bluffy to me after a very small flop bet, checking the turn, and now blasting huge on the river. I want to be a non-believer and call, but on the other hand, like I said, Dave is very capable of just having strong hands here. I imagine a 10 wants to play this way, and kings and queens can also do that as well. It's a big bet, but I'm up a lot tonight, so what's another 10,000? Show me a hand, Dave. I make the call, and he says I'm good. Lovely, lovely news. You can see on the stream he had 7 high and had to bluff to win this one. And it's nice to scoop up an extra $10,000 from the hero call. Everything is going my way right now. All right, the past 2 pots have been relatively small compared to the stakes, so let's get back to playing for blood. Mike decides to raise under the gun to $1,200. With ace-queen offsuit next to act, I decide to just make the call. Definitely could raise here sometimes as well. Action folds around to Nick in the straddle, and he chooses the path of violence with a raise to 7,200. Mike quickly folds, and now it's my turn. I'm definitely not folding, that's for sure, but definitely not loving the situation. I make the call. Flop comes 9-8 deuce 2 diamond, and Nick starts off with a bet of 6,000. Well, having totally whiffed, I could certainly fold, but we've played with Nick a lot here at this point. He can certainly be full of it. I make the call and see the perfect turn, a queen, bringing me top pair, top kicker. And as perfect as this turn card is for me, Nick makes it a little bit uncomfortable by blasting out $40,000. And now at this point, I'm thinking either this queen has either made me a lot of money or it costed me a lot because there's no way I'm folding. But Nick is trying to represent some very strong hands here, like overpairs, sets, and maybe even the occasional straight. I make the call, and we have a massive pot brewing. Let's hold on. With over $100,000 in the middle, the river is a 9. This card gives me some comfort. It reduces set combos and full house possibilities, but if Nick has a 9, then so be it. Nick decides to bet out 51,000. Very interesting, as he went from overbetting the turn and now half putting the river, which seems a little bit suspicious, but I don't think I'm ever able to fold a hand as strong as this one. So here comes a $200,000 pot.
I don't really know how to fold this, so.
Call.
Ace queen.
Very nice result and a very lucky turn to ship me a $200,000 pot. Guys, I think this is a heater. I'm winning every single hand, and it all adds up to this next decision point. At this point in the game, we can see Nick is visibly tilted and playing that way. He's raised and 3-bet the last 10 hands in a row, applying maximum pressure. So here, when I pick up ace king, it's go time. I raise it up to $1,200. Action folds to Nick, who re-raises to $10,000. Look, I'm expecting him to go after me a little bit harder after losing a few pots versus me, and I'm just going to make the call with over $300,000 in my stack. I have never played this deep stack before, guys. Over $300,000 I'm sitting with. I didn't even know how much I had. We're going to a flop of queen, queen, deuce. A whole lot of nothing here on this board. Sometimes Nick can have a good hand, but most times, given the dynamics of the table so far, he hasn't had many good hands yet. He bets out $6,000, and I'm never folding here with ace-king. It's the two highest cards without a pair, so I make the call. Turn comes another queen. So with trips on the board, it really feels a lot more comfortable with ace-king being almost the nuts. Obviously, I lose to any pocket pair, but here we are. Nick blasts out $30,000 again. And I'm thinking all I have to do is hold on and not fold. I just can't play scared money right now. Even though I'm up a lot and it would be really painful to lose all of this profit, it's not technically profit until the session ends. So if Nick has a good hand, then so be it. He deserves the money. I'm getting in there and making the call, the pot size bet. Let's hope for a brick river and call river. The river is the 8 of diamonds. This seems to be it for the most part, relatively a brick. And Nick puts in $110,000, a slight overbet of the pot, and I'm sticking to the plan. I'm not going to think this through, and I don't want to talk myself into a fold, so putting ace-king is good for a $300,000 pot. I call.
There's a call.
Oh my god.
Airball just bet $110,000, and Rampage took about 3 seconds to make the call.
Massive pot. Luckily, was able to hold on and get rewarded for it. This was by far the biggest pot I've ever played in my life. It all gets pushed my way. I mean, if you're entertained right now, hit that like button. Come on. What else can I do to earn your like here besides winning a massive pot with ace king high? So if you're new to the channel, also subscribe. Would appreciate that. But it's pretty surreal right now to come from playing $300 max buy-in games a few years ago. If you scroll to the beginning of my channel, I was just playing $300 max buy-ins. It's been quite the journey the past couple of years. And, well, there's no time to waste. We can't reminisce on this massive hand because the very next shuffle I see kings. There's a call from under the gun of $400. I raise it up to $1,500 here. Bill makes the call on the button, and Nick's back at it again. Snap after losing the big pot with a raise to $10.4 thousand. You can see he's still steaming from the last hand. I mean, granted, who wouldn't be? It was literally 10 seconds ago. But now sitting in the perfect situation, I have a great hand to bump it up with, and I put in another raise to $40,000. I don't think Nick is clearly in a folding mood right now, and when Bill folds, Nick makes the call, and the flop comes queen, queen, deuce again. This is eerily familiar. The exact same flop. And given the dynamics right now, I decided to check this hand back and see if Nick wants to bluff and bet out here. Well, we're off to a turn, which is another queen. Oh my god, this is literally the same run out from last hand, and it's not a very good bluff card for Nick. He checks again, and maybe he has a pair. Maybe he has something good this time with an ace. I just have to fire out $50,000, and to no avail here. Look, Nick doesn't have much. He ends up folding. Not a major hand, but I did pick up $40,000. And oh, also, I got Bill to fold, luckily, who was holding a queen himself. In a world where Bill was in the hand, I just lose a massive, massive pot and almost doubling Bill up. So I'm running really good in this sense here. So with about 3 hours going by without any crazy pots that happened, granted, it's really hard to outdo the last couple hands here. But here we are with the $400 straddle on. I raise things up with queen 10 offsuit from the button. We get Bill in the big blind to call and Nick in the straddle to call. So we're going to a flop of 9-6-5, 2 clubs and a spade. It's whiff city for me here, so action's going to check around, and we see the turn 8 of spades. Very interesting card because it introduces 2 flushes on the board. It also giving me a very disguised double gutter, meaning I have a 2-way straight draw. A 7 or jack essentially gives me the nut straight, and here Nick decides to bet out $2,000. I'm happy to make the call with my holding here, but when Bill makes the call, he's in here as well, trying to build up the pot. The river, well, it's just my night. Bink jack of hearts. Offsuit jack to let me drill the actual nuts, the best hand possible, and when action checks around to me, it's time to go for some value, and I decide to bet out $8,000, hoping someone may have a 7 to raise or just get called some 2-pair combos. Surprisingly enough, both players actually have 2-pair, but in this instance, Bill folds his 2-pair, Nick finds the call with his 2-pair, and that's another pot going my direction. And this hand is just going to end the night. Did you guys even see me lose a hand in this recap? Somehow, this was clearly just a session of an entire lifetime. I have over 600,000 US dollars in front of me. This is truly just unbelievable. Literally more than the worth of my home that I'm literally living in right now. It's always nice when you play a session where everything just goes your way. What are you gonna do? Sometimes you run good. Sometimes you have a dream session like today. Play some really big pots. Thanks for all the love. I'm sure y'all check Twitter, Instagram, everything. I don't know what to say, guys. Ridiculous session on a Friday night. I finally booked my very first win here at Hustler on the Friday streams, and it was a fucking big one. Excuse my language, but I bought into the game for $100,000. I was out of the game for a total of $621,700, which is more significant than all of my tournament scores besides one. Sometimes you just get really lucky, run good. Hustler on Friday nights, you never know what the hell could happen. It's ridiculous money. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. Hit the freaking like button, subscribe. I should play more cash games, maybe. You can have really bad swings like last video where I lost $100,000, or you can win really big. Swings are crazy. You guys love the volatility, the blood, and I'm here for the content, so I'm done rambling. I don't know what to say, just a ridiculous win, and thanks for all the love, real time, on the stream, on Instagram, on Twitter, all of it. You guys are the reason why I'm able to even play in games like this, and I owe you guys a lot, so this is a big one. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. See you next time.